Alright. It's so
We
nice
are
to see you.
live. It's nice to see you too. We're live. Yay, everybody can hear that Amie and I are so happy to see each other. Hi, Amie. Welcome. This is In Response, interviews with intriguing internalizers. And this is my live stream video interview show, which is also a podcast, and where I get to talk to really interesting, insightful people from all over the globe. Again, my name is Mia Park. I am in Chicago, Illinois. It is October 2nd, 2020. And Amie and I were just saying it's not a boring time to be alive and conscious, especially in America right now. Global health pandemic, racial injustice, political strife, all kinds of things. And our guest here to give us reflections on that is Amie Heeter. Amie lives in Wisconsin, is right now in Michigan. And Amie and I met doing yoga, I don't know, 15 years ago or something like that, a while ago. And Amie is a long time, like learned meditation and yoga teacher, now doing a lot of photography. And what I've always connected with Amie about and loved hearing stories about is that Amie's always been a naturalist. Met her husband in the natural parks. And I always enjoyed hearing your stories about like being at a young age, like so invested in nature and connecting with it and the benefits of that. And there's a lot to talk about with you, but I will pause and see if there's anything else you'd like people to know about you.
I just am born and raised in the Midwest of the United States, and I'm just very grateful to be here and have a conversation. Because this is such a time to talk about how are we responding to this moment, both internally and externally.
Yeah, thanks. So let's hear about the external world to you. I know you just said Midwest, and let's hear about that very rich internal response you're having to it.
Yeah, so in this moment, I'm in Kalamazoo, Michigan, helping my mother recover from knee surgery. But I live in Madison, Wisconsin with my husband and two daughters, now aged 14 and 10. And like everybody, our world is totally different since March. And what that looks like in my world is that we are all home. So my husband has been working from home, literally. Our bedroom is now his office as well since March. And also my daughters have been having their bedrooms be their classrooms, both in the spring when classes went online and also in the fall. Madison Public School District announced in July that classes would be online, which I do appreciate because we had a lot of time to prepare. And then my world is online. And I am still teaching yoga and meditation. I did take a break and am ramping up again with the fall. And, doing that work of supporting myself, my household, and where do I fit in now? Because I'm one of those people being more in the self-employed camp where everything fell away, and reinventing that.
Yeah, I hear you on that. So that sounds like a definite outside world pressure. And how are you handling that internally now? We had a really good pre-interview conversation about this too.
Yeah, so I want to say that it's been hard. It's been, I don't know anybody who's like sailing through this time or thriving. And it's been harder than I thought it would be for me internally, if I can be honest. I have 20 years of having preparation of building a yoga and meditation practice, which is still worth it. I actually have a stable household. I have a home. And honestly, I think this is a good moment to introduce this. We did a thing, my family and I, in the fall of 2017 through the fall of 2018, We left our home. We actually sold the home we had. We left our work and took our girls on the road for a year via a camper trailer, and really themed the year of visiting the national parks. But it was also about taking this pause, because we were at a moment, kind of at a crossroads, if you will, where what had been happening before, my husband's work and our house was so little that we were outgrowing it. We were not sure how to answer that question, what's next, that we're all always posed with. So we took this year, and we had a lot of time together. We literally practiced quarantining for a year before this happened. And I would say that experience in some ways has buffered us. And I feel like it prepared us for this moment of everything changing and not being the same. And I didn't realize that was a big preparation. I just thought it was a moment to share the values of making sure my girls understood what it felt like to be in wilderness for extended periods of time. At that time, they were aged 6 and 10, well, 7 and 11, actually. Just to kind of reconnect with that feeling of being surrounded by nature and all the gifts that brings. However, I'm saying that because it's still been a struggle of a year, because we chose that one, and we didn't choose this one, nor did anybody choose this one. And I really liked what was happening before all this happened. When we came back and we got our different house, and my husband was able to actually connect with work he was more excited about, I set to the task of crafting the life that I wanted. And like, this year was to be that. It was the culmination of everything that I've wanted. And I was really resistant in the spring, pretty pissed off, to tell you the truth, once we figured out this wasn't going away. And it culminated in a pretty surprising, severe depression for me in the late spring, early summer, which I'm much better in this moment. I'm still operating at a lower level. I kind of tell everybody in this moment, if you're meeting me or talking to me, I feel really half-masked in my life. But that's also been insightful to this collective moment that we're all needing to respond to our mental health, which I think is a huge concern and need for planning going into the fall, because we're still living with this year of unknown and uncertainty. And how are we going to take care of ourselves now that we know that this is a long run? So how I'm responding to that now is remembering all the tools that I have in my basket, which I actually gratefully have them. My practice has had to look really different. And also because our home life is so different. I used to have so much alone time built into my life that's not here anymore. And that's difficult, first and foremost. But I am slowly building back those rituals of practice that feel resonant for me now. And the thing I've been practicing a lot is I need support. That's hard. Those are hard words for me. So the time in the spring kind of showed me how much I'm used to being the supporter. And when I'm in a situation where I was pretty non-functional and I had to ask for support, it was so uncomfortable. It was so difficult. And I had to start with the people closest to me. But then I started to resonate outward. And also even looking at what does support mean now? So that is a conversation I'm still having with myself, but I'm also outwardly having it with others because, again, I don't think anybody's acing this year. If you are, like, more power to you. Like, I'm happy for you, but for most of us, it's a watershed moment that continues to reveal all kinds of things. The scaffolding of this moment to the inner, to the collective, is massive. So I just keep voicing ways I think I need support to myself, to my family, um, and then letting that ripple outward. And that's where I'm at right now. I don't want to just go on a tirade for 20 minutes.
That's okay. You can. Your tirades are
Okay.
very fascinating. Your tirades are very fascinating.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being honest about your disabling mental health situation. And I am sorry you went through that, but the eloquence and resilience that you have reflecting on it is inspirational. So thank you for being you going through that. Yeah, depression's a hard thing, man. It's so real. I think that we're getting better as a society talking about mental health, but man, there's still a long way to go. And to reflect back on that wonderful trip you took, I know that you did a TEDx talk on pressing the pause button on life. It's a big deal to take your kids out of school and hit the road. Can you tell us about that TED talk? Congratulations.
Thank you. That was one thing that didn't get canceled this year. And it was, I was invited into that event way before all of this. So I knew I wanted to talk about, I called that year that we went away the radical sabbatical. I'm the one, my family didn't really like it, but I was like, this is radical. And, we weren't necessarily coming back to a known job and support system. But that experience in and of itself really helped me change my relationship with time. That actually is still unfolding. And actually, I've been reinvited into that experience because everything slowed down incredibly. A lot of the time we weren't even in Wi-Fi or cell phone range, and that to go that analog again, after spending decades in the digital world, was so healing. And I've actually been prioritizing rest since that year in a way that hasn't been sacrificed. But now again, we're all invited. If there's any one positive thing we can talk about that COVID has given us is this invitation to, if you have that privilege, to be able to rest more because there's so much less happening. And often a lot of us have a lot fewer resources to use to fill our space and time with activities that move us outward. So that is one of the greatest gifts that brought, but also I wanted my girls to definitely feel the presence and the vulnerability that you experience when you place yourself in wilderness. And that is something I wanted to prepare them as we head into just the coming decades so that they could be stewards to the natural world, which is changing so much. And that they would know it's not a place to, though we can be humbled and definitely be met with fear in those places, that they would be there long enough to recognize the kind of gifts and the beauty that outshines all of those moments of humility and vulnerability.
That is lovely. It sounds like you're such a great role model for your daughters in so many ways. I want to acknowledge that Bob Kaiser wrote in saying that it's hard to ask for support when you feel like um, you have to know what to ask for, and he thanks you for your vulnerability. So thanks for bringing that up, Bob. And again, yeah, thanks for being honest about that, Amie.
Mhm.
Wow. So do you have hope, or do you trust in a positive future? Or
You know,
what
I
kind of
was,
future you're thinking about? Yeah.
yeah. This is a contemplation I've been in a lot, especially with my kids, because, I think to be young in this moment is, it's going to be formative for all of us. But to have the massive, it's kind of the collision of pandemic, um, untrustworthy leadership, and um, the climate crisis unfolding now before our eyes. Right? We've been prepped. Those of us who've grown up have, however much we've been paying attention, we've been prepped or had at least some experience of being disappointed in leadership or having these crises. But this is a moment. And so we talk about that this is one of those times. I remember listening to my grandmother talk about living through the Depression. She was a child during the Depression. And shortly after that came World War II. So that's massive. And there was never a going back. Nothing ever
Mm.
returned to what it was before those moments. But it just changed. And people adapted. And then some very positive things followed from those intense moments. And so I think we're in that now. There really is no going back. I really
Mm.
feel that. And I don't think many people even, there's things we're ready to not go back to. Um, I don't know what that looks like. Do I have hope? I do. I'm an optimist. I believe in the resilience of life if we give it a chance. However, I believe in science, and there's a time reality that we have. And so I am very invested right now and very much appreciate um, the writers who were talking about, including Adrienne Marie Brown. I just want to plug her right now because she's a thought leader that I'm paying attention to quite a bit. She's written 2 books, Emergent Strategy and Pleasure Activism, which just talks about how do we hold on to our vision enough for what we want to things to look like on the other side when there's so much uncertainty and unsteadiness, where it's easy to slip into fear, freeze, cynicism, snark. Those are all places I go and play, by the way. But and can we hold on to that inherent creativity, innovation, that pulsation of what it means to be in close relationship with life, to help move us into that new era that we're all entering into? It's coming. And we have some choice right now in how we want that to look individually and then on the other side, but it's going to be collective. And so we have to be in relationship with ourselves individually in our dream world, in our imagination world, dare to just be free in that realm, and then ripple it out into our families, into our communities. And we'll see what this new era is. And it's going to be a combination, there's going to be a lot of grief going forward, I think, no matter what, especially in these next year, but certainly beyond. And I feel that for the natural world, because we don't know how it's going to be recalibrated.
Yeah, wow. You just said so many really great, important things. Thank you for tying a lot of your thoughts back to the natural world. It's interesting. I am realizing that when I like put our my interviews into context, I date stamp it and I talk about the different pandemics. It's funny that climate change is not something that I mention because when people look back at these interviews or especially this interview with you. So thank you so much for mentioning climate change. And I have to share, like, I think one of the reasons why I don't mention climate change so much is that I have faith in the literal planet of Earth. And
Me
I
too.
think that, yeah, and like you said, the Earth will I forget what you something about take care of itself or like the earth is right. Like I have faith in the actual like natural rock that we live on. And I do think that we are a part of it and it is a part of us. And I maybe this is coming from someone who doesn't have kids, but no matter what we do, we're not going to really hurt this rock. Like this rock is going to live whether we're on this planet or not. So climate change to me is actually a human issue. It's not a natural issue. We are causing this. And if we're not here, nature's just going to go back to being nature in a cleaner way. So that anyway, but I appreciate your bringing it in a lot. So thanks for that. That's good inspiration. I think going forward, I'll start just like putting that on the radar because we still are in this climate and we are the cause of it changing in a very radical way. And like I said, I was saying like I've always appreciated how dialed into nature you are and how dedicated you are. And I think that may be, I was realizing as you're talking about, yeah, it's a new future. It's different. Things are going to be permanently different after this, right? I
Yeah.
think maybe that tying into nature has to do with all that.
And I agree with you in the way that the earth will be fine. It's just how much life will um, go along with this unfoldment, you know? And so that is the piece. Can we center life and thriving and allow that space and opportunity for nature's natural resilience to step in, which, by the way, we actually do have that as well. If we know how to tap that inner resource of resilience, the practices have shown me that. And also, I guess what I'm really finding through the pandemic is how the support and the compassion and the nurturance of people are an important part of tapping into that resilience right now too, because we all feel so separate. And I'm in this camp where I am with a pot of 4 people every day. And I love them. And we go through all the things. But there's still separation even when you're in a pod because you don't have your wider community as readily available. So I just inherently believe in resilience, and I inherently believe in if we can just be vulnerable enough and kind of let what this time is doing to kind of level us and kind of like break us, that from that there's going to be these cracks of light coming through that we have to catch and sort of shine together as we all go through this massive unknown and this massive radical sabbatical we're all in right now.
That's awesome. Thank you, Amy. Oh my gosh, I could really just talk to you about this for a long time. You have so many wonderful things to share. Thank you. Um, so Amy's TEDx talk will be, uh, I don't think you say broadcast if it's online, right? It will be streamed online October 8th,
Mm-hmm.
correct? And
Yep.
uh, and so when I get that link, I will put that in the bio. So if you're hearing this as a podcast, which will probably after then, the link will be there. Otherwise, if you're watching this live on my YouTube or Facebook pages, come back and check out that link. Obviously, Amy has some really grounded, insightful, and very practical uh, things to share. So, Amy, thank you so much for letting me talk to you and sharing your thoughts with everyone.
It feels so good to come together and talk. So good to see you. And thank you for creating these spaces for these conversations. I've really enjoyed getting to know how many you've done, and I love how short they are too, because I think we need small chunks right now
We
of
need to,
insight.
yeah, there's a lot going on.
That's
Yeah. Yeah,
wise,
you're
very
welcome, Amy.
smart.
Thank you. Because I know what my palate is. I'm like, all right, we got to get this in. All right, well, thanks for watching, everyone. If you want to support me and my team, it's patreon.com/Mia Park. Otherwise, thank you so much, Amy. And we'll see you, people. We'll see you at the next interview. Bye, everyone.
Bye.